Hi, I'm Rick Suyo with Hayes TV. Imagine seeing George Foreman crooning on stage here at the Hayes Center, or Serena Williams lyrically lamenting. Or how about Tiger Woods boogieing, not bogeying? Well, they're all going to be in Blowing Rock. Well, maybe not exactly, but at least a group of professional actors and singers will be spoofing all of these athletes in the off-Broadway hit comedy musical Chuckleball, which will be performing here at the Hayes Center on Friday, April 15, part of the Blue Ridge Food and Wine Festival. I had a chance to sit down in video conference with Jason Goldstein, the co-creator and director of Chuckleball. Hi Jason, how are you?
Hi Rick, how are you?
Great, great. So tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from East Brunswick, New Jersey, which is where the company is based.
Well, earlier I interviewed Christiana Little, one of the cast members in Chuckleball, and she gave me a great description of the show. But I want to hear it straight from the mouth of the creator. Can you repeat to our audience and viewers here today, what is Chuckleball?
Chuckleball is the sports comedy and parody musical review. So what we do is we take famous songs and we rewrite the lyrics about what's going on in sports news. And we hit all the sports. We hit baseball, basketball, football. We stretch with sports are. I mean, we hit professional wrestling. Sometimes we'll get Dancing with the Stars in there. Is chess a sport? I don't know. We try to figure out what is a sport and find the big headlines and then knock everyone off their pedestal and roast and toast them a little with silly songs about what's going on.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. So how did you come up with this concept?
I'd always been a big fan of parody, the idea of rewriting lyrics about what's going on. When I would do community theater as a kid, between the matinee and the evening show, I would write parodies about the show and the happenings backstage and what have you. There's two very famous big shows that have been running almost my entire life. One is the Capitol Steps, based in Washington, D.C., and they roast all of the big political figures. And then, of course, Forbidden Broadway in New York City, that roasts all the Broadway happenings. And I was always a big fan of those shows. And I was also a big sports fan. And I said, wait, if we can get, Bill Clinton and George Bush, and we can get, Mamma Mia and Phantom of the Opera, why aren't we getting Tiger Woods and Brett Favre?
Right.
And I said, I wonder if that would work. So the first challenge was, well, do sports people and theater people, do they mix? I mean, other than Damn Yankees, where does sports and theater come together? But then I said, no, I think there's people like me who have just as much fun going to a baseball game as they do to a Broadway show. Let's see if it works. Let's see if these people can sing. So we tested it out. And we've been doing it for about 8 years now, 7-8 years.
Wow. Fantastic. Yeah. So what's in it for the non-sports crowd? What will they get it?
Absolutely. I always say, when you go to see a movie, you go to see a play, a television show, you don't know the backstory of the character. You don't know anything about them. So there's a dramatic arc that you learn about them and you follow the arc. So if you come to Chuckleball and you don't know who Tiger Woods is, just as a regular character in a play, you'd find out what his wants and needs are, and you'd follow his arc, just like a play. However, it's so much heightened if you already know who Tiger Woods is and you know the backstory. But if you're not a big sports fan, we write it so that you would still learn about these characters and find their stories funny. We make sure that there's something there.
Maria, I promise I won't too much grow back.
The songs are also very layered, so what we do is we look at how music, theater, sports, and comedy all come together. So just the great singing voices of our cast, just hearing the music. I mean, if you went to a concert and they were just singing, you'd go, oh wow, that's a really nice song. It just happens that they're singing about a topic. So from the theater end, you get the arc. From the music end, you're hearing nice singing. The comedy is written in a broad and specific way at the same time. So if you're not a sports fan, the broad joke of, oh, this guy's cheating on his wife, or this person is using steroids and is getting caught, or whatever the joke is, you pick up on that. These two women came to see the show, and I guess they just signed up because it was free tickets. They didn't know what. They said, what's the show about? And I said, oh, it's a sports show. And they said, I think we're going to go. I said, go? The show starts in 2 minutes. You're here. Why not at least sit through it? The first act's kind of short. Just stay. Not only did they stay, they stayed for Act 2. They loved it. They came back 3 times. They brought their kids. They brought their husbands. They brought their families. They said it was like the most fun they ever had. And they hated sports. So we always say both sports lovers and haters will like it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, people in the arts industry and theater companies and just arts in general, we're always looking to bring in new audiences, younger audiences. Right. And this is a great way to do that, to expose the art of theater and music, and stage performances to the sports fan, to bring that audience in. Is there a line between what's funny and maybe what's offensive?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think we ever want to be mean. We always joke, we would love these sports celebrities and sports stars who we roast in the show to be in the audience. Mm-hmm. We always joke, a few of them we'd love to stand up at the end and be like, what? What did I do? Why me? Why me? But we also understand that they're human beings and they're people, and we don't want to hurt their feelings if they did wind up showing up. At the same time, we're following what the newspapers are saying. We're following, what, Jay Leno and David Letterman are saying.
Right.
If Brett Favre, for instance, Tiger Woods, I mean, we're original in how we approach it, but these, the fact that Tiger Woods has had all these women in his life isn't anything new. So we'll figure out a funny way to sing about that. But if somebody is being really hurt or persecuted or something else, we don't want to add more insult to injury. It's so there is a fine line. I think we test that in rehearsals. I think we have to live with our own ethics about things. So we don't want to be mean. I mean, our comedy is not. I think comedy is about stating things that we can relate to and the relationships and ironies between things. But I don't really like comedy that's just mean for mean's sake. We're just saying, hey, aren't they stupid? That's not funny. But playing stupid where they think that they're doing something great, but they're just obviously not getting it, is more relatable and more funny.
Well, at the same time, I mean, some of this news, especially sports news and scandals, I mean, it's out there in the media. I mean, when that Tiger Woods news hit, I mean, you couldn't escape it. So it's out there. Everyone knows about it.
Right, absolutely. And we are constantly reading Sports Illustrated and watching ESPN and staying current and reading the news about what's going on. I mean, we will follow. I mean, we had an opening night once, and there was a scandal that broke that morning. And we said, oh, the press that's coming is going to expect certain numbers, so we just had to write it. We could be on the plane ride down to you guys, and, that morning we saw in the paper that something, happened, a draft pick or something happens. The audience is going to expect that. So we have to figure out what's funny about it, and is there a joke in it?
Right.
And there's some things that I think might be off limits, but for the most part, you're right. If it's in the news, we're just commenting on it.
Well, I think that's the beauty about your show, too, is that it's always evolving and it stays current, so it's never outdated.
Yeah. And we really like that. But it's a double-edged sword because we fall in love with some of our old numbers. You work so hard, you write them, you work out every lyric, and you rehearse it, and you put it together, and then it's over. Actually, we're in rehearsals now, putting the show together for the Hayes Center. We're really excited. We have a lot of custom material. And I was thinking on my way back from rehearsal on Tuesday night, I said, wait, some of these songs we're only going to be doing the one time, and then when we come back, to North Carolina, but we like these songs. Like, they're not going to be staples that can live forever. I mean, a Brett Favre, you get a couple of years out of a song or a couple months, but some of the things that we're doing written so specifically for your audience, we might only get to do once or twice.
To see part 2 of this interview, go to www.hayescenter.org, where you will also see other Chuckleball videos and video clips, plus videos of upcoming shows and events here at the Hayes Center. I'm Rick Suyo with Hayes TV.